Hello, everybody. Spider here, the Fight Card Podcast, coming to you once again, San Antonio, Texas, of course. Being joined by Lauren. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Mario, for having me on.
No, for sure. I mean, I know we connected past weeks, right? And I mean, we've been planning on this, and I appreciate you jumping on. I mean, because of course, I mean, I am in San Antonio, Texas. Yourself, you are actually outside the state. So where about are you at?
I am located in the greater Philadelphia area, like a few minutes from Reading, PA.
Okay.
So in that general area, and then in the Eastern time zone.
Oh, okay. No, that's right. Because I think the time difference was one of those things. It's always, I don't want to say it's a burden, but yeah, sometimes people are, I've had people on here from Australia or England, and they're like, I got to be up. Their morning is my evening. So it's like they're waking up, and after I'm done, I'm going to sleep.
Oh yeah, for sure. I get my time zones mixed up all the time. Like I'll be interviewing people and I'll have to double check and triple check.
Yeah.
Okay, they're in Central, so they're 1 hour behind me. So I'm definitely trying to keep up with all of that.
No, and I was going to say too, because you do have your own podcast. So plug that in. I mean, give us the name and give us as far as what people can expect.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. So, I started a Patreon recently, probably within the past month, to kind of showcase my brand new pro grappling team, the Philadelphia Phenoms. And I wanted to create a space within that Patreon to have exclusive access to athlete interviews, people involved with grappling, and fight sports as a whole. So I came up with Phenom Fam podcast, and that's going to be exclusively on patreon.com/Philly Phenoms. I will be dropping clips on Instagram.
Nice.
However, if you want the full episodes, you got to subscribe to that Patreon. But incredibly excited about that. I've already filmed the first episode and it's in the process of being fully edited. So I'm learning the ropes as I go. And I tell you what, I've learned that the more I speak on camera, the more I get comfortable with it. Like
Oh yeah.
at first it was kind of okay, I'm not so sure of myself. I'm kind of figuring things out as I go. But now it's like the more you do it, the better it gets.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's just like talking, right? I mean, a lot of times, I mean, people do freeze when they get put on the spot. Myself, I've been I had a zine back in the '90s, so I used to interview bands like all over the Texas, right? I used to drive all over the state, interview bands, and I just started networking like that. Before social media, right? But I mean, I used to write letters and interview bands from through letters. I used to mail them out and wait weeks for them to respond and get those things going. But getting on the mic or getting in front of the camera definitely is different. Like I said, a lot of people don't like it, but I think the people that don't like it are the ones that actually get more comfortable, and it's pretty cool to see because it's not like an everyday thing. But if for those athletes like yourself, that are going to be on stage, I mean, they're going to give you the mic once you start winning, right? So you got to get used to it.
Absolutely. With regard to the Philadelphia Phenoms, our team is debuting season 9 in the PGF in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. The season runs from March 4th through April 8th. So that's just right around the corner. And, we might be viewed a little bit as the underdogs, but we are totally okay with that
Right.
because we are bringing that energy and we're going to seek out those submissions. And we're still compiling our team. We actually have a qualifier planned for next Saturday, the 17th, in Bethlehem,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, at Finishers MMA HQ. Shout out to 10th Planet Bethlehem and Zach Maslany for letting us host the event there. So what's going to happen there is the winner is going to earn their spot in the PGF draft, and go into that pool of athletes. So who knows? They may end up on our team or someone else's. And then the PGF draft itself is going to run on February 4th. And then the season is right around the corner. I can't believe, it's after the holidays. It's coming up so quickly. But man, I'm so excited.
No, no, for sure. And I was gonna let me ask you because when it comes to martial arts, I mean, when did you start training?
Oh, absolutely. So, when I was a child of about 8 years old, my mother put me in Taekwondo. I guess I had a little extra energy or something, and she wanted to test that out. She actually did Taekwondo herself and got pretty far. I was living in two places, like part of the time with my mom, part of the time with my dad.
Yeah.
So, it was a little difficult for me to stay in it long term. But while I was in it, I gained a deep adoration of martial arts. I loved chopping and kicking the boards. That was my favorite part. I grew up loving Ninja Turtles, always wanted those toys when I was a kid. Grew up watching WWE. And though that's a different kind of martial arts, I still feel like it it went toward my overall view and perspective of just loving the sport as a whole, the sport of combat sports. And then a few years ago, I downloaded an app and started watching Hoist Gracie and the early days of the UFC, and the way he performed with his technique, how smooth he was. I was just amazed at how he could defeat people larger than him. And he was just calm and collected. And I thought to myself, I was like, I wonder if maybe I could do that too. Like maybe not fight professionally, but learn some of the techniques he was doing. So I looked into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, signed up for classes with my husband, and I haven't looked back since. So I've been doing Jiu Jitsu for about 3 years now.
Okay, cool. And let me ask you because when it comes to joining a class, because of course, I mean, you had done Taekwondo like you stated. So going back into Jiu-Jitsu, I mean, what years later? I mean, was it hard for you to step in there and be like, okay, you know what, this is not not your comfort zone. So how long did it take for you to kind of say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna stick with this?
Well, yeah, there were some definite nerves in the very beginning. I was like a lot more out of shape than I am now, and I had some goals set for weight loss. I had some goals set for self-defense. And so I kept those goals in mind and said, well, if I just take it one step at a time, learn one thing at a time, I can eventually reach these goals. And it didn't hurt that I had a training partner and that my husband was going with me. So we were kind of each other's accountability partners, which helped tremendously from motivational standpoint.
No, no, for sure. Because of course, if he's not going, you're like, hey, what do you mean? Like, let's get dressed, right? Let's go. But that's cool. And I mean, did you guys actually? I mean, having started training, did you guys actually like get a mat and like train at home as well? Just curious.
Oh, it's great that you said that because I bought my husband jujitsu mats for home just a few weeks ago
Oh, cool.
for a
Okay.
Christmas present. We had a dummy that I bought him last Christmas, so he got mats this Christmas. So we have a whole little setup in our living room.
Nice, nice. And I was curious because I think that's the go. I mean, not to say you don't want to train at the gym anymore, but those times that you can't make it, or you're like, hey, you know what, let's just get a roll in or go over technique, or maybe seeing something in class and you want to keep practicing, right? I mean, I mean, I'm sure
Oh,
the grappling,
absolutely.
the grappling dummy helps, but I'm sure going against a live body helps even more, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we have a setup in our living room, and he's always like, "Hey, let me try this on you." And I'm like, "Yeah, since it's not going to hurt your knees on the hardwood floor, you can try it on me as long as we stick to the mats with no hard rolls." But it's definitely nice having something on the floor so you're not like, on the hard floor.
No, no, for sure. I agree. I mean, I think starting I started myself back in 1999. My old instructor, I mean, it was a hybrid. I mean, we used to do gi, no gi, but I mean, we used to incorporate everything. He came from traditional, so it was a little bit of everything. But he had like made his own mats, and then they were well made. I mean, they were with the lining and the padding, but um once you got off it was concrete. So everyone, we'd be rolling hard, and man, getting hitting that knee, you're like, it's not good. It's not a good feeling.
Oh yeah. As we all get older, I feel like we're even more mindful of our joints, especially. I try to like get some hard rolls in during the week, but I've also gotten to a point where I'm looking to balance it out with more flow rolling, and I would consider myself to be like a, probably a casual competitor. I compete multiple times throughout the year. I train multiple times, but I'm not seeking that pro level. But I love jujitsu. I love to do it all the time.
No, no, I mean, that's great. I mean, the fact that you stay involved and get it when you can, because like you said, I mean, we do get older. I myself wanted to start getting back in. I am gonna get back into it this year, and I'll let you hold me accountable. We'll be following each other, so let me know. But yeah, I started back when went through a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. At that time, I was affiliated under Carlson Gracie Senior. Before he passed away, unfortunately, right? May he rest in peace.
Yes.
But yeah, it was one of those things. I mean, I fell in love with it. The first time I went with my first instructor, it was like, getting my butt whooped and thinking, damn, like I think the first month I was going like 1 day a week because it was that bad. Like I was just getting beat up, and But after that, I was like, man, like I started surpassing a lot of my teammates, and they've been there for a few months. So that once I saw that, I was like, man, I got to keep getting better, right? Because as I get better, they can't tap me out anymore. So that was pretty much my goal, was not to get tapped out all the time. And turns out I learned stuff.
Oh, absolutely. One of my motivations for jujitsu, and I guess also a personal goal, was to overcome my fear and anxiety of competing. And I think that's part of the reason I have competed so much is because each time I step on those competition mats, the anxiety is just a little bit less. And I'm hoping that one of these days that fear will be conquered and I will go out there confidently without the jitters.
No, no, for sure. I know at the beginning, I mean, a lot of my teammates were doing pancrase. They used to compete in open hand. I mean, here in Texas, they didn't start allowing closed fist or 4-ounce gloves till like 2004, I want to say, or 2005. But before that, it was open hand pancration style. But working with them for them to go compete, I mean, I was like, man, it was always a great feeling, because I was like, okay, well, I'm getting them ready. And I mean, and we were tough on each other, man. I mean, we didn't like clock each other like hardcore, but when it came to pushing, I mean, cardio wise, I think our team at that time, there wasn't many gyms like that here in San Antonio. I mean, they came years later, but in the beginning times, I think we were like on lane of our own, because nobody else was doing what we were doing. Everybody was traditional. We were just like, okay, time, let's warm up, let's do drills, and then boom, let's go, start rolling. And it was different, and I think that's what caught my attention, was that I was like, man, I didn't want to go through the whole traditional aspect, and not no disrespect to that, but I think for me at that time, I needed that raw, like, let's just go. There was still technique, there was still respect, of course, but it was hard, and I think at that time in life, I needed something to put me in check.
Oh, absolutely. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I feel like it's put me in check too. And like it's it's amazing because it has helped me achieve weight loss goals. It's helped me achieve personal goals and competition goals. And I also really like watching other people compete. I think that's one of the reasons that I started watching the PGF is because I love watching other people compete so much. And professional jujitsu, I just think it's amazing watching athletes compete at the top of their game on the pro stage. That's such a cool thing.
No, yeah, you see, and I think for me personally, I used to love watching people roll, because I used to learn. I used to watch like little I used to catch little techniques, or things that I wouldn't see when I'm grappling, and I'm like, oh damn, their arm, the whole time their arms there, or the knees right there, And it was the same thing with going to seminars. I was able to attend a lot of good seminars in the beginning of of my journey, and out of one seminar, I would get like two things that would stick to my head, and I'm like, dude, like I'm gonna use those. And not to say the whole thing wasn't great, but it's just I would see little things, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna start using that, and it would help because jujitsu, like it's a chess game, man. You got to have that one move like ahead of time.
Oh, for sure. I like going to the seminars as well. And I'm kind of the same type of learner as you. I will pick out a couple of things, and those will be my things that I try to work on, the techniques that I take from the seminar. Yeah, I think it's also fun to kind of browse Instagram and YouTube and like the BJJ fanatics and just see what kind of wild moves they're coming out with. There's always something different trending, and it's kind of fun to see like, oh, I wonder if I could do that, cuz sometimes I definitely will try it out at home. It may not always work out for me though.
No, you see, and that's kind of what's cool about it because yeah, I mean, we can't. I personally, even back then, I couldn't do everything. Like that whole buggy choke. I was doing that like back in like 2000. I was doing that like early, but I started doing that because I realized that my legs were flexible, and like when people would have me on side control, I could keep their head away from me. So when I would grab my gi pants, it was like I just like, oh man, they can't get out of it. And a lot of time, I never went for. I would go for like a submission type thing, but it was more like a pressure choke. Like I would use it enough to where they would start moving away, and I would get back in guard. They would create that space, and when I started seeing that, I was like, damn, I had that the whole time. I never saw it. I just always used it as a pressure because I think that in the beginning, it was a lot like pressure jujitsu. Like if I'm in someone's guard and I would put elbows on their thigh and just create that pressure. Everything was about pressure, and it just, I mean, a lot of the submissions were there, and I just never saw them. I was just like, damn, I could have the whole time. Their knee was there, their ankle, their arm, just like crazy stuff. But yeah, it's just, I mean, we learn, it evolves. I mean, of course, half the stuff that I see going on now, I'm thinking, damn, that's like capoeira, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that certain types of people's body types
Yeah.
makes the move easier. Like those buggy chokes, I feel like the long and lanky people
Oh
are
yeah.
better at hitting those. My body type is more of a heavyweight, which kind of brought about my nickname, Thick Girl Jitsu. My favorite move started out as Mother's Milk. That was me as a white belt. And that was a submission that I typically tried to go for. And then as I evolved into blue belt, I discovered, hey, I can play leg locks now. And so that's something I've aspired to do more in recent competitions. It hasn't always worked out for me, but I'm trying to refine those movements so that, if it was just a little bit this way or hip in a little more, or, stomp on those hips and I could have gotten it. So now I know for next time.
No, no, yeah, and that's what's great about not just rolling, with your teammates, and but going to competitions too. It's like they say. I mean, when it comes to grappling or jujitsu, you never lose, you learn. You leave and go come back and do it again.
Yeah, I've been doing a bit of traveling over the past year, and there's one thing that I noticed. Jujitsu is never far away, and you don't even have to go to a gym when you're traveling. If you can find a place outside that's open or a space inside, and you're in between training sessions, there's always a space for jujitsu somewhere.
No, you see, when you were saying that, something funny popped in my head because in the beginning, I remember when I would tell people that I was training in Vale Tudo. That's what we were doing. We were doing like freestyle, and they were like, "Oh yeah, show me something," and I'm like thinking, I'm like, dude, I can't, like, you know what I mean? It was just awkward because I'm like, what do I do, like knee him or freaking go for a throw or what? So when was the last year? I'm also a moderator. I do a lot of like horror events, but I was interviewing some of the cast from Twilight, and yeah,
Wow.
and one Ashley Green, she was a martial artist, so I brought that up, and she was like, and I told her, she's like, "Oh, you're a martial artist," and I said, "Well, I've done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu." I said, "I've done MMA," and she was like, "Oh, can you show me something?" And I'm like, I was like, not really. I was like, I mean, it was just awkward because I was like, okay, yeah, you can't, we're on stage. It's not like it's matted or you know what I mean. It was just weird, but it's
Yeah.
funny, But they understand though.
Oh man, that is so cool that you interviewed the Twilight cast. Like that was the bread and butter of my movie fandom, like back in the 2008s to 2012 to 14, I guess, when the series was coming out on film. I was a huge fan of Twilight.
I I know. I had seen the movie. I'd seen the first one. I'll say that. I never followed it after that. Not because I didn't want to, but it was just during that time. I mean, I was never home or never. I wasn't watching movies as much. But when they asked me to do the moderating, I was like, oh yeah, And then he was like, hey, well, can you do the Twilight cast? And I was like, crap, because I hadn't seen any of the newer movies, and so I was like, man, like, what do I do? So I got on YouTube, and I didn't realize they had videos that would just kind of plug you in like an audio, and it was just like, boop, 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 and I was just like, oh, geez. So I started watching like some of those just to, but then I was like, you know what? Let me just go through the actors. It was three actresses and an actor, and I said, let me just get questions on them, And I just kind of I dug deep, and I was like, oh man, they've done this, they've done that, and it was cool because I was bringing questions that they were like, oh, okay, wow, yeah, like nobody's ever asked that, and I was like, cool, man, like that's what I want to do. I want to talk about stuff that nobody else is bringing up, make it different.
Oh, I think that's amazing. And I'm like interested to know what other cool people you've interviewed.
Oh man, when it comes to a lot of horror events, obviously, but I mean, I've done like the cast from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I've done the directors. I've
Oh.
done the actors. I've done the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the original. I think one and two we had done the cast for the 50th anniversary. I've done Return of the Living Dead cast. I've done like you name it. Like I've interviewed like a lot of actors, actresses from like every horror film that I grew up watching, and it's like when I'm talking to them, I'm like freaking like a kid, like, oh my god,
Yes.
I saw you on this little TV in my living room back in 1989, and
Yes.
it's surreal, but it's cool, and I love it, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So,
I'm a big horror and sci-fi fan, just
oh
for
sweet,
the record.
nice. And I was gonna say too because I think on y'all's website, the UFO thing, and
Yes.
I was like, man, I gotta ask about that. So who came up with that logo, that design?
Oh, for sure. So the way it came about is since the closest major city to us is Philadelphia, the greater Philadelphia area, and we have a deep appreciation and respect for Philly. We definitely wanted to use that. So we were like, oh man, all right, what goes with Philadelphia? And then we thought of some stuff that just didn't quite hit the mark. And then I was like, phenomenal or a phenomenon, like a UFO
Yeah.
phenomena in the sky, because you could be anywhere in the world and be a fan of UFO phenomenon or
Oh yeah.
sci-fi, sci-fi movies even. And then I was like, how can we make this work? Because that's entirely too long. How can we shorten that? So that's how I came up with phenoms because, not only does it tie to UFO phenomena, phenom is like a very exceptional person who excels at something. And
True.
we want to recruit phenomenal athletes for our team.
Oh,
So
nice.
it just worked out so well. Aside from that, I have such a deep appreciation for sci-fi. Now, my niche is like vintage sci-fi, like think Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. And
Oh,
then when I
definitely.
was a child, me and my dad used to watch the X
Yeah.
Files every Sunday night. So that was something that was very special to me. And that authenticity really translated into the love that went into making this brand.
No, that's cool. And I was gonna say because of course the you have the logo behind you, right? But I mean, this is the logo design. I mean, for those that are out there,
Yes.
and yeah, it's got the whole phenom. And I was gonna say that's a cool play on words because I love that. Stuff that like the Fight Card podcast. When I was coming up with this, I was like, man, I used to co-own, and I actually ended up owning TexasFighting.com, which was local to Texas, right? I mean, we used to go all over the state covering events, seminars, appearances, fights, like you name it. And so when I started, I didn't leave it, but I was like, man, let me do a podcast. And I was trying to think about what to do, and my whole idea was to get like the fight cards, like the events coming up, and kind of shop them up and talk about those as far as the competitors, what they've done, where they're from. Just do like a little background and then just kind of plug them in, because it's like, I mean, for me, that's when I started, I was a photographer, and I was like, I used to love catching those moments and giving them back to the competitors, because they were like, oh man, I appreciate it. Or I mean, I had a few, I had quite a few that were like hit me up, and they're like, hey man, can you send me some photos? Like, I just wanted to try this. I'm not gonna do it anymore, but I'd appreciate something. So my thing was always like, if somebody was getting their butt kicked, like I wouldn't send them those photos, of course, right? Or I wouldn't post them and tag them on those photos, but I would make sure like they both got enough good photos of them competing, because I was like, dude, like I want them to have something and be like, oh man, well I did this, or this was me, or whatever the case. But I always looked out for people. It was cool. I liked it.
I think that's wonderful. I have such a deep respect for the people that make the magic happen behind the scenes. I mean, the refs, the cameramen, the technical people,
Yeah, the
the
crew.
people that take the photographers. It all works together to make magic, to make the event happen. And even though like I don't love to lose, I appreciate the effort that goes into those photos. Is that a Scream poster behind you?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
love Scream. I like the original.
No, you see it. Yeah, when it comes to movies, of course, the OGs. I will say this though, because even though when I interviewed the cast from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like I told them, I was like, you know what, this is like, I mean, obviously it was like the first of a lot of things, right? When it came to cannibalism, when it came to the authenticity, people thought it was real. It was just like a shocking movie at the beginning, but I didn't grow up with it. I mean, it came out in 74. I was born in 74, so I'm that age, but I wasn't for me, part 2 was the one that I grew up with, because it was the 80s, and it came out, so part 2 was my go-to. Like that's like my favorite one, but I always respected the original. And the same thing for a lot of these films, it's always the first one that kind of plants that seed, and then after that sometimes they go too crazy, or they do too much. And but yeah, the originals, like, definitely, I'm a big fan.
All right, so I gotta ask, like, what are your top three of all time horror movies? Do you gear more towards the classics?
I because I'm an 80s kid, but I always tell people, like, when we were kids, like we didn't have cable, so everything we watched was reruns. So we I grew up watching a lot of black and white, a lot of silent films, a lot of Twilight Zone, the original, Alfred Hitchcock, of
Ah,
course. So I grew up watching a lot of that stuff, but at the same time, um my mom, I mean, we used to watch Telemundo, which was a Spanish speaking network, right? And I mean, I'm bilingual, so I grew up watching a lot of like luchadores, lucha libre wrestlers fighting the vampires and fighting the mummy, and just like wacky stuff. But I think I always tell people, I think that's what planted the because I love horror comedies. I love to laugh when I'm watching this stuff, and I don't go too much into gore, but it's like, for me, it's like my imagination already runs wild. But just watching enough, and I'm like, okay, I know what happens, or I know what could happen. But when it comes to my favorite 80s movies, I would say, like I mentioned, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. When I did the
that was
moderating,
good.
of course, that was like I was in heaven for that one. Return of the Living Dead. It's and I'm big with spiders. I mean, arachnophobia. Even though it was in the 90s, like that. That's like those are my go-tos.
What do you think of Fright Night? That was one of my favorites.
Yes, and I've actually met Amanda Burrs. Here in San Antonio, and I'm actually supposed to be traveling maybe soon to do another event, and she's gonna be there. But yes, like that was one of my favorites. Shopping mall. I mean, you name it. There's like so many movies that I've seen that I'm like, man, I love them. What is it, like Night of the Demons? I mean, I've got like so many movies everywhere that it's like. But yeah, a lot of those '80s films. I mean, there were, I mean, I grew up watching them, so it's like on the TV. And I mean, when my mom would allow me to watch them, right? I took them out.
Yeah, I
But
feel you on that. I also have an appreciation for 80s camp, 80s horror. I think those movies were great. And I also like Gremlins, but I feel like there's a debate, It's a horror movie, but can it also be a Christmas movie?
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think it's just like the what was it, Bruce Willis, with his film, like
Oh, the
people
Die
like Die
Hard,
Hard,
yeah.
yeah, they're like, oh, it's not a Christmas film. For me, I think because like growing up, and I'll say this, like for some reason, Killer Clowns from Outer Space was always would always come out on Sunday. Sunday was always on, and I was like, oh man, like I watched it religiously. But a lot of those films came out during those holidays, or for some reason we watched them with our parents or our family during those holidays that we just kind of made them like a family film, but it was on the Christmas or it was on Thanksgiving or whatever the case, right? But I definitely think it depends on the person because yeah, and there's movies that I watch now and I'm like, oh man, I used to watch that with my dad, or he was real big with cowboy movies, so like Shotgun, what is it called, Rifleman, Bonanza, all those movies that were on TV, But I mean, I grew up watching that stuff too, So I'm grateful and I'm blessed because there were classics. I would have missed out otherwise. If I had cable, I would have missed out because I would have been watching just nothing that's all the new stuff.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. I gravitate more toward the classics than I do more modern stuff. I am a big fan of the Universal classic
Oh yeah.
monsters, like the old school Dracula with Bela Lugosi, the Lon Chaney werewolf, the Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon,
Yeah.
I Frankenstein. I love all those.
Man, I always told people I like the Mummy because it kind of reminds me of Jason, right? Because he's so slow and methodical. Like he doesn't run after you. You run and you drive like across town and you go home to another home and boom, he's right there in your closet. But I always got a kick out of that because I was like, man, like I kind of think of life like that. Like I don't rush to anything. I don't like if I'm going to work. I'm not. I'm not, if I'm late, I'm late. Like it's like they say, you can't be late twice. So it's a. I take my time and I'm like methodical when it comes to everything. I'm like, you know what, it'll happen. I'll just keep going that way, and eventually I'll run into it or I'll get it done. And life mysteriously works in that way. For me. So I'm just like the Mummy. That was always like my not my favorite, but it was always like my go-to. I was like, yeah, he's pretty cool, man.
Oh yeah, I think The Mummy is a great movie, and they've had some pretty interesting modern takes
Oh yeah.
on the remakes of those films with like Brendan Fraser, the ones that came out like 25 years ago and whatnot. I think those were cool, and I also think it's pretty cool that the Universal theme park, like in Orlando, they kind of themed some of the rides after that. Like they made a new Dark Land and have like this classic Universal Monsters ride. I got to experience it last year. It was pretty cool.
Nice, nice. No, and then of course I was gonna say too because the Monster Squad, like they had them here like 2 years ago, and they brought in they had like the cast, like the kids, right? The guys that were when they were kids, but then they brought the Mummy and they brought the Dracula guy, right? I mean there was. And it was cool because I was like, oh man, like the Wolfman couldn't make it for some reason like that, but it was just it was pretty cool. I got to interview both of them, and of course, I mean, I had seen some of the movies. The guy that played Dracula. I mean, he was he had been an actor for years. From Canada, so he was like a theater actor, and I brought that up because I told him, I said, man, when you played the vampire part, like the Dracula, I said, man, you nailed it because you were so your theatrical aspect, everything just kind of you delivered it. I said, man, nobody could have done it better, man. And he was just like, wow, like wow, thank you, I appreciate that. But I mean, but those are things that I noticed and I'm like, you know what, like some people were just meant to be. If somebody's like, hey, I want you to play this, and I'm like, man, I'm not, I can't do it. I mean, I'll still do it, but I'm saying like I don't, I know there's things I can't do when it comes to acting, and it's just I'll try anything, but I'm not
Oh
gonna
yeah,
hold my
dude.
breath.
The Dracula actor absolutely nailed the part. The beginning scene when they were in the plane and it was so ominous when they had the coffin and he was trying to break out. I was like, "Oh man." And in the 80s that was kind of like a new thing being done where you had all the classic favorite monsters together. You had Frankenstein, you had the werewolf, you had Dracula, you had everybody together. And I was born in 85, so I was a little bit young to catch the, initial hype of that, but I discovered it later on and have such an appreciation for how that film was done. It's definitely a cult classic,
Yeah.
and I think it was a well done 80s horror movie.
No, no, yeah, because that's one of the things. Even with my kids, I mean, my youngest turned 22 this week. I was out there. She was under the weather, so I didn't get to see her on her birthday. But my oldest too, she turned 25 last year, and like in December. But one of the things is that I brought him up around 80s movies. They we were always watching like classics, man. And like I remember my youngest was in the second or third grade, but she came home and she was like, "Dad, like, she seemed kind of upset, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she was like, "Well, in my class, like nobody thinks I'm funny." And I was like, and my youngest was a freaking, oh my gosh, she was hilarious growing up, man. She was freaking, I mean, she's still funny, but, and I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, well, I'm telling the kids jokes, and they don't laugh. And I was like, baby, I said, that's because you have your dad's sense of humor. I said, you have an adult sense of humor. I said, they don't get it because they're kids. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, look, I said, like these movies I let you watch, and they weren't bad, but I said, "There's a lot of adult humor in it, and they don't get it." And she was like, "Oh, okay." After that, she was okay. But the fact that I said that when I did, I was like, I surprised myself, but it's true. It's just she was from a different era, man. I grew them up, and they grew up in the '80s.
Yeah, for sure. Those references hit
Yeah.
different. Those old references hit different than the new 6, 7
Oh yeah,
stuffs.
yeah, yeah. I
Like,
know. I always tell people, I joke around, but I told people, I said, in my household, we speak English, Spanish, and movie quotes.
I can definitely appreciate that. And speaking of movies, I almost feel like it's becoming a lost art to actually go to the cinema and watch a movie.
Oh
What's your
yeah.
perspective on that?
Because of streaming, it has. It's like, I mean, people are doing this. I mean, it's easier, it's quicker. I mean, for me, like myself, like I love going to the theater. Me and my girl go like pretty much once a week, or like every Friday we'll go out there and catch something, and I like it because for one thing, it gets us out of the house. You know what I mean? Like half the time it's empty. It's like only like us and one other person, and I'm like, damn, it's like a private screening, right? But yeah, but it's because of streaming services, and I mean, I it's good and it's bad because I'm an actor. I mean, I jump on indie films and I do a lot of other like castings and stuff. But I've noticed that because of Hollywood, not like every major label has their own streaming service, so they just go straight to streaming. So now the theaters are allowing like indie filmmakers to kind of rent out space for cheap and put their movies up there because nobody else is going. So it's cool. It's cool in that aspect, and I like it, but yeah, it's just uh I think now it's like when they come out on the Thursday, I think it is like a lot of people usually go that first day and like come for the weekend, nobody's there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since I've been to the theater. I think I'm going to make it one of my New Year's resolutions to get
Yeah.
that in-person experience more. I like to occasionally enjoy like binge watching movies sometimes at home. Like I like to hit the Lord of the Rings series, or maybe Harry Potter every once in a while.
No, you see, that's one like I'll say this, like the Walking Dead, like I haven't seen any of those episodes. And not because I don't want to. Like when it first came out, I was like, man, I want to see it. But I think I was working like two jobs when it came out, so I had like no freaking time. And then like after the second season, and then it just kept going. And by the time it got to me, like for me to actually like, man, I want to start watching that. I felt like it was too late. So I was like, man, I don't want to start. Like I'm gonna be there forever, right? So, but there's a lot of them that I miss, and it's like even now, like I try to watch a film like in the morning. I try to watch a film when I get home. I try to watch another one when I before I go to bed. And I mean, I'm real big when it comes to indie films, and I mean, there's in the thousands, so I'm never gonna finish, but I try to make it a point to watch, because on some of them, I mean, I've actually jumped on a few projects, and I'm like, well, I want to watch those too, right? I want people to watch them and enjoy them, and a lot of them are low budget, so it's like, excuse the low budget, costumes and everything else. They're cool though. They're cool.
Well, yeah, I think low budget can sometimes have an appeal to it that the big blockbuster movies don't, in that they're going to be using less CGI. So you got more natural, raw kind of effects. And I can definitely appreciate that for sure. I saw an Instagram account the other day that was taking different films, some of them indie films, some of them blockbuster hits, and they were doing themed meals set to it. Like there would be a specific scene where the people on screen would be eating a meal, and then they would try to emulate the recipe and then show it. And I was like, oh, that's super cute.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, because when it comes to effects, I think that it's a lot. There's a lot more creativity when it comes to indie films, and that's what I like. There's a lot more creative freedom. Like I said, I don't like it when it comes to like a lot of gore. There's certain things I just don't watch when it comes to horror, but yeah, for the most part, like I mean, it's creativity. It's like basically like me, you, and one other person. Like, yeah, I got a camera, we got a mask, we got a something. Like, let's make a movie, and the boom, make it happen. And it's just, I mean, for me, like growing up, it was like well, my neighbors. I'll say this: my neighbors, their parents used to buy them everything. They used to get all the Star Wars, all the everything. And like what I used to do is I used to like, man, can I keep the box? So I will keep the box and I would play with the boxes of the packages of the stuff. But it's just I had to use my imagination for a lot of that stuff. I mean, but it was stuff like that I appreciate because it got my imagination going. I'm real creative. I can think. I always tell people if what I'm thinking I can put on digital, man, I'd be a millionaire. Like I would be coming out with so much cool stuff, man. But it's just, I mean, I can't. Now AI is out there, and of course, it helps. But I just don't have that skill and that talent to put something and make it work. Put it up there.
Oh yeah, same here. The AI is definitely advancing so quickly in different areas. It makes me wonder, like, if there hasn't been already, if there are going to be full feature AI films in the near future.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's just like for me, it's just one of those things. Like people are like, oh, like AI just came out a few years ago, but I mean, I'm more than sure it's been around for years and years, and it's just the people that be, of course, they use this stuff before we do, and it's like now it's like, oh, okay, well, let's put it out there. The iPhone. I mean, there's things that are going to be new to us, but I'm sure people have already used them and are using them, and it's just. But I mean, when it comes to AI, like it does a lot. A lot of people use that Chat GPT. There's AI.io. There's so many programs, and it's one of those things where it's good and then it's bad. Like if you use it to like make music or make movies or make something, then it's like okay, well, it's cool, but I think there should be like a I think when you do something in AI, it kind of puts it out there that it's AI modified or something. But I think there should be something automatically where people just know, like, hey, this is complete AI. Like, it's not like a lot of these fan film posters. Like, they make up so many movies, and I'm like, is that real? And I'm like, like I don't even follow them anymore because a lot of them are just fake and goes nowhere.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line that's like I myself use Chat GPT, and I use some generations for like professional posters, but I feel it's also important to have that FaceTime genuine content to put out there for people that are fans of the team or who want to keep up with me as an athlete or just sharing things to friends or other people. I think it's super important. And I have like two different sponsors, one of which is Nomad Grappling Team and the other is Zombie Sports Co., which I
Oh yeah,
see
yeah.
in your in the corner. Oh man, they're such a great company. I joined with them last year, and the guy that runs it is super nice, and he sent me some healing salves, like probably six of them. And oh man, I gotta tell you, I've used that stuff from everything to after my cauliflower ear
Yeah.
was drained. To promote healing in that spot, staying off the mats for a while, to I've used it on paper cuts, and I've used it as lip balm. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Zombie Sports Co.
No,
They're doing their thing, and they're killing it. They're supporting athletes, giving a platform, just as you are. You're giving people a platform to kind of tell their stories on Fight Card, to share conversational
no,
moments with you. So huge props to you both.
no, no, and that's all of us. I mean, of course, when it comes to, I mean, and that's the thing I love about art, that it comes in so many forms. I mean, when it comes to martial arts, when it comes to being a singer, a producer, a writer, an actor, I mean, there's so many forms of creativity that it's like it just brings everybody together. Whether people, they appreciate it, because even if somebody doesn't know anything about Brazilian jiu-jitsu or grappling, like they see it, they're gonna be like, oh man, they're gonna be impressed because it's like not just anybody can go in there and do what everybody else is doing, because I mean, of course, there's time and there's technique and there's everything that falls into place. But it's an entertainment too. I think earlier I was going to bring that up because you were talking about pro wrestling, and I love the whole Attitude Era, but I grew up watching pro wrestling in the '80s. Here locally, the Von Erichs in the '80s. Up in Dallas. I mean, just in general. So it's like, I mean, from the lucha libre wrestler, like I told you, fighting monsters, I just kind of got drawn to it, and it's just I'm a fan. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like people are, oh, it's fake, and I'm like, well, it's entertainment. It's
Oh yeah.
now it's like every sport kind of has to bring that aspect in to where it's got to be entertaining. It's just not like, hey, I'm gonna go play football. Now people are dancing, doing their thing, doing their walk, doing their, celebrating, doing just it's entertaining because it's like people are like, oh, okay, cool, you know what, like this is fun, it's I mean, but yeah, like everything, everything that everybody is doing is great, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you jumping on here as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more, because at the end of the day, if something brings a smile to your face and you're able to step away from the seriousness of things going on in your life, and you're able to share moments with people, whether it's wrestling entertainment, whether it's pro grappling, or sitting down to enjoy a film with your family, if it's making you happy and you're
Yeah,
enjoying it, who cares if the wrestling's fake?
yeah,
It's about the feeling, the moment
yeah.
that you share with others. And oh yeah, you said you had watched wrestling in the 80s. I was more introduced into the Attitude Era with
Oh yeah.
like Kane and Undertaker, Brothers of Destruction, with the choke
Stone
slam
Cold.
and the tombstone pile driver and Degeneration X and all those
Oh
guys. I had the action figures.
yeah.
When I was a kid, that's what I would ask for. I would ask for a Barbie and a Ninja Turtle, and then action figures. I would trade them with other people. I think that was part of it.
No, no, it's cool. You see, because a lot of these events too that I go to, a lot of them are retro. So I mean, I've met like Buff Bagwell. I've met like
Oh,
the kids of but the Von Erichs, of course, the younger generation. I mean, I got to meet them. I got to, and it's cool because it's like stories, man. It's like, oh, dude, like we saw you live, or we saw your, like it's just fun because a lot of times it's like you time travel. You go back in time and you remember those moments, and you're like, man, like you said, it makes you smile. It makes me smile because I'm thinking like, man, like I don't have my parents with me no longer, but it's like I keep them alive through every day. I think of something and I'm like, oh man, and I just laugh because it's like, you know what, like I miss them, but I mean, there's a lot of great memories, and I'm gonna keep them till it's my time.
absolutely. Well said.
But of course, let me ask you, when it comes to this tournament, I mean, you said you're gonna be the ones the next month that you guys are gonna be having an event.
Yeah, so on Saturday, 1 week from today, my team, the Philadelphia Phenoms, is having a qualifying tournament in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And now the winner of this qualifying tournament will be entered into the PGF draft, which takes place next month. And they'll go into a pool of other winners and invitees from the draft. And those people will get drafted to various teams, including our team, and then we'll go off to Las Vegas. The team will be competing starting March 4th through the Professional Grappling League, aka the PGF.
PGF, and I was gonna say, I mean, Just the trip to Vegas. Here's the logo for those that are watching, of course. Professional Grappling Federation. But even the trip to Vegas would be cool. I would start training again, or you know what I mean. Like I would want to train in something and be like, yeah, let's go to Vegas, man. Let's keep winning and get to travel. You know, I mean that's cool. I like that. Well, definitely good luck to you guys.
Thank you so much. It was my first time in Vegas last year, so it was a little intimidating being under the bright lights, but I enjoyed the buffets and the jujitsu culture and the friends that I met there, the athletes and just everybody. It was awesome.
No, yeah, you see, and that's the thing about these tournaments too, is that you never know who you're gonna run into. You know, I mean,
Oh
there's coaches
yeah.
and teammates, and you're like, oh man, there's
Oh
so and
man.
so, and it's just like freaking crazy. I love it. I mean, I love. I mean, I haven't gone to like a grappling event in a while, but it's like the times, and this is my thing because every time I go somewhere, I'm always like on media mode. So I'm always like the camera guy. I'm always taking pictures. I'm always, and it's like people like I would see a tournament and I would see the guys that are competing, and I'm like, oh, dude, that's from so and so's team, and so, and I'm thinking like, man, I wonder if they're gonna be there. And so I would catch fighters like on the way, you know, I would see them and I'm like, hey, bro, I said, how's it going? I said, I'm so and so. I said, man, can you answer a few questions? And oh, yeah, yeah. And so I would interview them like a month before their fight, and then I would be posting it, and everybody's like, dude, when did you get that? And when did, and I'm like, bro, like, I didn't even have to go to Houston or Dallas. I said, they came over here, man. I said, so, but it's all about opportunity. So I was always that guy, man. Like as soon as I would see somebody, I'm like, man, I gotta interview him or him or her or whatever, But I mean, I miss
Oh
that
yeah.
because it's like, I mean, you got to do them quick, get them while you can.
Absolutely. I met Hoist Gracie, one of my jujitsu heroes, for the first time at the PGF in Las Vegas last year for season 8. I met Eddie Bravo. I met so many legends, and I was just like starstruck because it was truly like a 5-star experience. Jujitsu in a ballroom,
Oh yeah,
amazing on that professional stage.
no, no, definitely, I agree. I mean, even like the fights too. I go and I cover them, and I'm like, dude, I see people like sitting down, like I see fighters or I see them in the lobby or I see them walking out with somebody and I'm like, oh man, like I gotta interview so and so. But I've done so many events, like I've been able to hang out and meet, like you name it, like I mean, of course, I did I mean, back when they used to invite me for like seminars, appearances, people were like hit me up and like, hey man, we're getting, Ken Velasquez back when, like, hey, he's coming down, man. You want to do some photos? And I'm like, hell yeah, dude. And so I mean, Uriah Faber, I mean, getting to meet like everybody, and it's like freaking everybody's like, dude, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just show up, man. I'm like, people invite me and I show up and get it done. But it's like, I mean, it's kind of like being a kid at a candy store, man, because you're like, dude, everything's right there, and it's like, I mean, I was at a hotel in Houston with one of the fighters that was on the card, and like they were like, hey, everybody's on the fourth floor in the lobby, so I go up there. As soon as the elevator door opens and I look over and I just start Overeem was there, like sitting down, right? And I'm like, holy crap, dude. And I'm just like, hey, how's it going, man? I'm just going around shaking hands like a politician, man. It was cool. But
Oh
there was
yeah,
a lot of fighters. It was crazy, but man, miss it.
that's amazing. That sounds so awesome.
Oh yes, yes. But of course, for you, let me ask you: when it comes to grappling, I mean, do you prefer gi or no gi?
I have a respect for both. I started training jujitsu in the gi, and my first few competitions were in the gi. We were learning those foundations of jujitsu and those grips. So I think that is an integral part of jujitsu. I did transition to doing mostly no gi
Okay.
sometime last year. And I think for now it's the right fit for me. And that's what I choose to do competitively. But with me traveling so much for the team,
Yeah.
I look forward to connecting with people who do both gi and no gi because I have such a high respect for both styles of jujitsu, and I think they both equally have a place. It's hard to choose a favorite, but competition wise, the no gi suits me currently. How about
No.
you?
And it would depend, but I mean, definitely no gi. but the gi, like, yeah, perspectives, because it's like there's people I would see and I'm like, damn, I want to grab, I want to roll with them with the gi, man. Or I would see them being so technical that I'm like, man, I gotta try them out, and it wasn't even ego. It was just like they were so damn good that I was like, man, I gotta roll with this, this person or that person. But yeah, but I mean, if it was preference, I mean, if it was like, hey, you can only do one forever, then it would be no gi out of respect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I've got I know I had met Professor Carlos Machado, right? He's in Dallas, and on one occasion, like I had talked to him prior because we were going to a seminar, and I told him, and I said, hey, I train with my coach. I said I do gi no gi, and he was like, oh man, it's best to do both, man. Like even this is like way back when, but he was like, that's good, we do no gi too. Like it's better to do. I mean, it's great to do both, but I mean, like I said, I mean, but of course, if somebody was like, "Hey, we're gonna do a gi seminar," then of course I'd wear one. I wouldn't be that guy and be like, "Hey, I'm a no gi guy." But
Oh yeah. I met Carlos Machado last year during PGF season 8, and I was equally starstruck when I met Hoist Gracie and Eddie Bravo, and I was just like, oh wow, thank you for everything you do.
you see,
Such amazing people.
I will say this because in that seminar I went to, I got to roll with them. It was a small class. I was at the post office. I begged them to let me leave early. I mean, I did my rod and I freaking ran out of there. I went to the seminar late, but I got to roll with him. I mean, he was like, "Hey, we're gonna roll everybody," and of course, I mean, it was like I was a purple belt at the time too, but he just like, man, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get your left arm," and he just like he did his thing, but I was throwing everything out there, of course, and nothing worked. But I was doing like the alligator roll. I did a cartwheel, guard pass. I did, So after we were rolling, he was all like, "Hey," he's like, "You're like," he's like, "Man, you're like capoeira, man. You're everywhere." He's like, "You're like a spider," and so that's where I kept my nickname Spider because of him.
Oh, I think that is so
Yeah.
awesome.
So after that, I was like, "Dude, that's a spider." He's like, "You got 8 limbs." So I was like, "All right, cool. I can live with that."
That's awesome. You could do the spider guard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You see, and that was one of my forte, man. I loved it. But I will say this though, I did get tapped out by him, of course. Um, when it came to Carlos Machado Senior, I mean Carlos Machado, uh, Carson Gracie Senior. I'm sorry. Like I got to roll with him at a seminar, and I got tapped out by him. But I've been choked out by two of the greats, man.
Hey, that's a huge bragging right there.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's amazing. I hope to meet Jean Jacques Machado. I think that's on my bucket list of people to meet next.
Nice, nice. No, for sure, and I'm sure you will. Because I mean, these guys are everywhere. So of course, being traveling and doing what you guys are doing, I mean, it's only a matter of time. But like you said, getting to meet the icons, man. Because these other people that put it that made everything happen, and of course, now it's like freaking wildfire. Now you got it everywhere. But they're the reason why.
Oh, absolutely. They laid the foundation, the building blocks of jujitsu here.
No, no, for sure. And of course, I mean, Lauren, and I was going to ask you, normally I try to keep this under 1 hour. We're going to be up to the time limit. It's great conversation. I'd love to have you back on here. But anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
I would just like to say that I'm really grateful for the PGF. And if you're an athlete out there, a male athlete that's around 175 pounds, you've got a few days left to sign up for the qualifying tournament. You can hit the link in bio on Instagram at Philly Phenoms and sign up for the qualifier. We're headed to Vegas in March, so there's not a lot of time. I want to shout out my two brands that sponsor me at Nomad Grappling Team, at Zombie Sport Co. I'm grateful for the life I live and the things that I get to do and the opportunities that have come my way. And I want to thank you personally, Mario, for having me on this podcast.
Man, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I hate to wrap this up. I mean, we'll definitely bring maybe we'll bring you and one other next time. I can get up to 15 people on this platform, so we'll see how many people we can fill up. But I do appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on here. I do wish you guys the best of luck, and of course, when it comes to that Vegas, who knows, man? Maybe you'll see me out there. We'll see. You
Thank
know,
you so much.
no, not a problem. Don't hang up yet, though. Everybody out there, of course, once again, Spider here.